which is the one that is most common, is characterized by high mortality, fever, anorexia, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, dyspnea, pulmonary edema, abortion, hemorrhages in the skin, especially ears and flanks, epistaxis, malaria, hemorrhagic discharges from the anus, hyperemia, cyanosis of the skin, especially the skin of extremities, ears, chest, and the abdomen. It looks like this disease is a museum of clinical science. Almost everything is present here. Extensive and hemorrhages of lymph tissue are also very common. But pigs survive. African swine fever is established in domestic pigs. Carrier pigs become an important source of the virus. This is very important because in most farms, you find that not all the pigs die. And the ones that alive become carriers. And the owners of such pigs are reluctant to get rid of those pigs, even when they are asked to get rid of that. The disease manifests similar clinical signs to other hemorrhagic diseases, such as classical swine fever, that's called cholera, and erysipelas. Laboratory diagnosis by serology and PCR. The samples that should be sent for diagnosis from dead pigs are blood, plasma, serum, and the organs that you can harvest to be taken for diagnosis are tonsil, spleen, mandibular lymph nodes, bone marrow, lungs, liver, and salivary glands. This is very important because when pigs die, there's no need to convey the whole to the lab. You can take the sample to the lab. Till today, there is no treatment against this disease. But many laboratories in Europe are working on antiviral drugs that can be used to treat this disease. Control of this disease. There's no effective vaccine against African swine fever. The reason being that it cannot produce neutralizing antibodies. The virus does not produce neutralizing antibodies. So control is therefore based on rapid laboratory diagnosis and enforcement of strict sanitary measures. In 2022, that was last year, Vietnam announced to the whole world that they have produced a vaccine against African swine fever. And they were going to commercialize it. 2 months later, they informed the whole world that the vaccine had killed pigs when it was administered to pigs, so they were withdrawing it. However, Portugal and Spain have shown that you don't need a vaccine to control this disease. Public health concern. The virus is not infectious to humans. Maybe that's the reason why it is not considered a global animal health priority. The disease, however, has serious social economic impact on the trade of pigs, pig byproducts, and food security. Like the director rightly informed us, 10% of the world population eat pork. So they are removing that dependence on other animal protein sources that will become available to people who don't eat pork. Why then is it difficult to eradicate this disease, to even control it in this country? There are things that people have done that we should do that we don't do. That's why the disease is still here. There must be joint participation and coordination of all stakeholders and agencies at all levels. There must be provision of funds to control the disease. There must be establishment of laboratories for rapid diagnosis of the disease. There must be enforcement of strict sanitary measures and enactment and enforcement of laws. The control of African swine fever in Spain in 1983 cost that country 11.4 million euros. Spain is a small country compared to Nigeria. And look at how much money they had to spend in order to control or to eradicate that disease. All animals that are carriers must be destroyed if we must get rid of African swine fever. But farmers are even reluctant to get the animals that have survived during an outbreak and offer them for destruction because compensation will not be paid to them. Farms with infected animals will have to depopulate. The premises will have to be disinfected, and the farms will be allowed must fallow for 2 months before you restore. Public awareness through workshops and dissemination of information about the disease through posters and leaflets must be a continuous process. Establishment of legislation on animal health, animal movement, care, and welfare at national, state, and local government levels will be enforced. The legislation should cover importation of animals, establishment of farms, markets, and slaughterhouses, and also transportation of pigs. But you know we don't do that here. Somebody just wakes up and decides to start a piggery behind his house, or by the roadside, or in residential areas around us. Just 2 months ago, there was an outbreak somewhere in Kaduna, in the middle of a residential area, and all the pigs there had died. The man cost by the situation close to 20 million naira because of the pigs that died on that farm. And all the drainage from the farm was washing into a stream. I know what that means. In the heart of Kaduna. Rapid laboratory diagnosis. The number of laboratories in Nigeria is grossly inadequate. I know about MBRI form. I don't know about any other place. There was a meeting in VOM in 2018, and a WhatsApp platform was formed that wherever you have an outbreak, you just report, and you find a means to send the samples to VOM, and then they will do the rest. But till today, there are only 46 people on that WhatsApp. Ideally, a pig farm should be located in a swine-free area. But we already have pig farms in residential areas. And the farm should be at least 6 kilometers from any other farm. The site to locate the farm should be elevated. But some even go to the swamp to build a pig. The site should be protected from direct sun rays. At least there should be trees to provide shade. The farm should be away from residences and around 85 to 10 meters away. That is if you're in the village and you must have a backyard situated 8 to 10 meters away from you. And it should be downhill. And it should be situated such that the wind passing through your village should pass to your house before it gets to the piggery. In case of large-scale pig farm, the selected site should be connected to all roads all year. And the site should be suitable for manure disposal. It should be connected to reliable water and electricity. That is funny, isn't it? But with solar system and the abundant sunlight that we have in Nigeria, electricity should not be a problem here. And many areas you can get over provide water. This is an example of a farm layout, because the mistake people make from the beginning is poor design of the farm. You can see that the administrative area is cut out completely from the rest of the farm. And only authorized people will have access to anything on the left. There's no road connecting there. And there should be food dips containing disinfectant all the way, even if it's the one that will contain a car or pedestrians that are going there. And only authorized personnel can pass through to the production area. If you don't have any business in the production area, there's no need turning left on this farm. You finish your business in the administrative area and you leave. And then everything that is here will not leave except processed pork. And that should be sold outside, not even here. And anything that is incinerated is way out. That arrow going out there is going to the incinerator. It's just that it was labeled wrong. In case you don't have money for something elaborate like this, each of these plots labeled plot 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can break it up into a sub-unit when we come to housing. The house must be strongly built, because you know pigs, they have a way of destroying anything around them. But I found something that people near Zaria here adore. They put a wire, something like a operating wire, on the snout of the pig, or the binding wire on the snout of the pig. So when it goes to ruminate, that disturbs them. So they start to keep away, because they think continuing to do that will injure them. The floor must be rough, slightly sloping, and easy to wash. It must be raised at least 60 centimeters above the ground. And the roof over the piggery must be rain-proof. Of course, some sun should be shining into the piggery. That's why you need to see the direction of sunrise to sunset to be able to build the piggery. You just don't build it anyhow. If you don't have the money for a bigger layout, this is adequate. Just a small place to keep away people. You put your pigs in there, and then you only authorized personnel to be allowed to go in. Some of the common practices that cause outbreaks on farms are feeding of swill to pigs, transmission from personnel, clothes, format, foods, hair. In some places, like where the outbreak occurred in 2020, it's an estate of pigs or Okero. While interviewing the farmers there, you find that they even share farm hands. After I clean your piggery, it's ready to go and clean somebody else's home. You need to go and clean another person's home. And it's using the same clothing and same boots to go to some of these places. They borrow things like ropes. They borrow things like spade. It is common to hear, "Oga, when you finish with your shovel, I tell you to give me because I never go my own yet." So even the facilities to wash hands, you don't find in some of these people. Piggeries must have a contingency plan in case there's a disease outbreak on what to do, how to get rid of sick animals and even dead animals. You must restrict people who pay visits to the farm. But in Nigeria, here, most of these farms are like a tourist attraction. Come and see the large white that I brought from the United States last week. Only essential people should be visiting the farm. On the farm, you must establish clean and dirty areas. The clean areas are those in contact with pigs, such as pens, offices, and connecting hallways. The dirty areas are those that may contain sources of infection for the pigs, and are everything outside the clean area. Entrance doors, walls, changing room, shower, or just a line should be painted on the ground to divide the clean area from the dirty area. Anything that must cross the clean area or the dirty area to the clean area must be disinfected. Sharing of equipment should not be allowed. Indiscriminate disposal of manure and dead animals should never occur. In this country, butchers insist to enter into piggeries to select the one that they want. That should never be allowed. You can take pictures of the pigs that you have, or make a video recording on your laptop or tablet and show whoever wants to buy to look at it, make his choice before it is presented to him. Farmers also have the habit of having a stored boar that they use to take from farm to farm to breed females. That is one practice that will surely bring African swine fever to your farm. This is how someone decided to dispose of its pig that died from African swine fever. All these pictures were taken in this country. These are pigs thrown away in a stream that people are using to drink water somewhere. Fortunately, it's not zoonotic. But every pig that is along this stream is at risk here. The death on this farm was so much that the man started by burying the animals. But the graves were overwhelmed. They can see what he has done. Markets. African swine fever spreads new areas in several countries through livestock trading of live animals. There are people who are in Europe and America who have never seen live animals, except if they go to a zoo. All they see is meat in the shop. But here, we prefer to buy the live animal, take it home, and slaughter by ourselves. And those live pig markets are inevitable because of that culture. Now, these markets are not even designed properly. And sometimes they are not even situated properly. The section sometimes in some of these pig markets that is earmarked for pigs is not isolated, which should be a case. It's not fenced and have numerous entry points. Vehicles bringing and taking away pigs will have a particular car park. But you see, people that are coming to buy other things in the market will also share the same car park with those that are coming to purchase pigs. Only pigs from certified farms should be taken to the market. Pigs for sale should be placed on elevated concrete surfaces that are slanted so that their feces and urine can be washed off easily. There should be holding pens to contain appropriate facilities for keeping pigs that will not be sold on market days. Wherever possible, there should be regular and market-free days during which the pig market will be thoroughly cleaned, disinfected, and left vacant. Appropriate rodent and insect control programs should be in place at all times. Any sick pig should be reported to the veterinary officer or the market authority. All dead pigs should be reported to the market authority immediately. But look at what we do. This is a big market. Everybody has got his own hair from his house. There's even a dead pig right there, amongst the ones that have been brought sold. Probably dead from African swine fever. Transportation of pigs. Due to the high demand for live pigs, restocking and slaughter, the pigs sold at the designated live pig markets are moved over long distances. The spread of African swine fever usually occurs when infected pigs or carriers are moved from infected areas. Documents such as the source of the pig, their health status, and destination must accompany the pigs being transported. But we don't do that. Those documents should be requested for at all times by competent authorities. There are checkpoints, all right. But we know what makes we get the pigs through. Some people don't even bother to check the well-being of the pigs. As long as you have that which can get the pigs through, that vehicle will pass. The vehicle used to transport pigs must be constructed from materials that allow for thorough cleaning. Their floors must be rough to avoid pigs slipping during transportation. Now look at this. This vehicle was designed to transport pigs. And it has all that we have listed here. But not many pig farmers have the money to buy this vehicle. But you can afford something like this. If you cannot afford something like this, there are smaller vehicles designed this way. But this is how we transport our pigs. See them up? And then you tie them on the roof of the vehicle. Those who are familiar with Kafanchan, Lafia, Makwadi axis, this is the preferred mode of transportation of pigs. This is the way this man has chosen to transport his own pig. It's alive. Yes. So all the secretions are along the road to the market. And these pigs, there are pigs here that are scavenging everywhere. This pig couldn't make it, so it was slaughtered and transported by motorcycle. But you can see that all the blood is dripping on the way to the market. This is a car wash for the transportation vehicle that has arrived safely. So everything here is going to be washed to the ground, and pigs are going to come here eventually. Slaughterhouses, another place where we have problems. Processing plants are not meat shops. Visitors should be kept out, and pork should not be sold there. The processing plants should be isolated from other buildings and should be fly-proof, and scavengers should not have access to the wastes. Processors of pork should wear protective gear at all times. All surfaces in the processing unit must be kept clean at all times. Antemortem examination should be carried out to ascertain that the pig is not sick before it is slaughtered. The pork arising from the slaughter should undergo a post-mortem examination before the pork is cut and packaged. All packaged pork should be sold immediately or should be preserved and sold another day. All used protective gear should be washed in hot soapy water containing a disinfectant, and protective gear should never leave the processing plant. Look at how clean this environment is. Look at how neat the processor is. He's even wearing gloves and he's doing the thing properly. These are the pigs that have been waiting to be butchered and sold, stored in a clean environment, that when you see it, The appetite to eat it might even improve for you. But this is how we slaughter our pigs. Tell me, how can we get rid of African swine fever? This is how we prefer to sell our pigs, our pork. There's a live pig under the table. I want to thank Dr. Pambuka. When I saw him with these pictures, I was so impressed, and I told him that we need to get this thing out so that people can see what we are doing. He provided those photographs used in this presentation. Now, references. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Professor Alan, for the excellent presentation. And all members of the audience must all agree that he has done justice to the topic. But before I open the floor for discussion, let me apologize to Professor Lao Saidu, the former director of BTH, recognizing the professor's presence. I said only two, and I said that Professor Adawa. Sorry, sir. The deputy dean, I don't know whether he was around when I started. You're welcome, Professor Emma Steman. Professor, oh, that's Professor Sibo, sir. Professor, I'm not seeing recognized from here. Welcome, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. The presenter started by first in, and you had to go for certain things. So I also welcome others who joined us later, the commissions, and then students, whether postgraduate, final DBM students. You are all welcome. As student is there too, you are all welcome. The presenter started by producing it. And in Nigeria, the causative agent, nation issues, reasons why we continue to have disease outbreaks, and then various biosecurity measures along the value chain. And that's very comprehensive. So with this little remark, let me open the floor for discussion, comments and questions. Okay, Professor Saiki-san. Thank you very much. This is a timely presentation of this disease condition. And he did a very good job, but I was just telling him one thing. The source, he read from what the Europeans are saying. But original proof, the source is from Portugal. And when they brought their animals to rear in their colony, Angola, in Mozambique, it became serious among the local pigs. And they gave it the name African swine. It's like as though it came from Africa. It's Europeans. Every bad thing is on. They are saying AIDS came from Africa. When it started from their own area. Are you getting me? So that is one. Two, the disease has become so much of concern and of economic importance that the Ministry of Agriculture in Nigeria has taken bold steps to see how they can stamp it out. In fact, there was a working document by specialists in that area carried out in produced in 2021. And last 2022, around November, some of us were called to go and vet and then they validate the document.
So it's a disease of vital importance. But I think it's the most. That's it. It's like AI important. I get you. People who like very well people, they suffer a lot from that disease. The last outbreak. There were 2 waves of outbreak, which he didn't break it out. He didn't want to give you everything. 2 waves of outbreak along the West African coast. They started from Togo, Benin, came to the west, and then climbed up here. How was it? I'm sure you told you the source of what? Transmission. AI, when the AI came, destroyed the animals, but the animals, the chicken were being sold along the Kaduna Road. Here too, the same. When the African swine fever was diagnosed in Samaru, we traced the source to judge people who brought this thing from from Benue to judge market, and the people went there to buy and brought it here. So they are very highly infectious and contagious diseases. So we are happy that you have given us. How I reached 500 level students were also here, but we will continue to look at them. So BTH, you have started well. God bless you. I hope other departments follow. Well done, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Anna, for this wonderful presentation. It was for inspiration to a lot of us in love with large animal practice, to the extent we drive the kind of vehicle we also drive. So we look up to you in so many ways. I have a question that's related to immunity. I don't know, just curious whether maternal antibodies play a role in immunity, considering the endemicity of this particular condition. Also, whether previous exposure have any role in immunity. Then some of the problems I also see is the way I think we underreport diseases in this country as professionals. If you go to OIM website, cases of African swine fever, I think they are not representing what is really going on in the country. And it's part of the problems we are facing in terms of control of this disease, especially the role of multinationals in control. Also, how we ship samples. I was in Kaduna, I saw how the samples were shipped or waybill to the reference lab. We just took the samples to Motopark together with human beings and the luggages, and that's how the samples were being transported to the reference lab. I think all these are ways in which this disease will also be spread in the environment. Then a lot of us are not production oriented. We are primary producers of clinical services. We design very poor or unsustainable hard health programs for farms. We are not involved mostly in site selections, farm designs, and then also we don't consider waste management often in our hard health programs. I'm glad in your layout there's an incinerator to say that waste management is a very important aspect of our hard health program. Thank you.
As a one-time, more or less, when I say a backyard, it's not a backyard there, but kept pigs some years back, just to bless the occasion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished professors, so I'm sorry yesterday. Scripted attend this seminar. I think I'm happy that finally I apologize. Too late. But straight to the point that the director mentioned. A couple of years back, for retirement was in the post-retirement plan was to have a farm, sheep, pigs. So pigs it's good to have a pig farm, a piggery, that's the right word. Because they are prolific, they produce a large number, litter size, and they can attain market age in a very short period. However, I think the greatest problem in the farm is not disease, it's stealing. That's what some farmers told us many years ago, and I think it's true. The farm was open. You go in there, some people will move in, you will see blood, they slaughter the pig and put in the bag and run it. But that didn't disturb me because the market was there. And people were coming as far back as far as Kapanchan to come and buy pigs here in Samaru. But the long and short of it is that it's lucrative. I think I'm coming from the background of what my plan for. Piggery is lucrative. Management is very important. Security is very important. And if you have a good health program, management, I don't know whether piggery you call head, but it's head. Huh? You still have it? Yes, okay. If you had a good head management, I think appropriate. And I encourage students at that time, final year students, I encourage them that if you have a job that you are close to your place of work, and your place of work is close to your, please go into piggery and small livestock farming, because it is easier to quickly make it. I think I've very much.
There are also questions online. We also have questions online. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think we start. This is just the start. This topic. Now, part the problem. I am also requesting that we need to have another lecture, another seminar, where we forward how this problem as a nation. So some scholars around the world have moved far. They are now into solution provided based researches. I think the problem of swine fever, what How can we start budgets without all vigilance? How we can get out of the problem? That's just my contribution, probably. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the wonderful presentations. I think my own is something that is bothering me based on presentation you made. When you talk about why we are having the problem, and the problem will never be us, simply because we have wild pigs. We talk about the wild pigs. So how can we now control this from the wild pigs? Maybe if we have to go by controlling the problem from the wild pigs, and probably since it's one of the types that is transboundary animal diseases. So how can we go about controlling this so that we may be able to be free from it, and the issue of the socio-economic aspect can be improved? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your comments and questions. Unfortunately, one will wish that the immunity would be solid, but even the passive immunity is short-lived. That's why you see the piglets also die in an outbreak. The most fundamental problem we are facing with this disease is the virus being unable to develop neutralizing antibodies. That's why even vaccination is ineffective. And the carrier pigs that recover from this infection stay alive, but they continue to shed the virus so that other pigs will get infected. In some countries, you just don't wake up and start a farm. Here, you know what happens. Many ministries of the country, animal health, human health, the environment are involved before you even start a farm. Try and check some of these measures. But this is one very wise virus. Because in China, where it's very strict, where they have strict laws, even in the establishment of farms, African swine fever is there presently, and it's causing a lot of problems. But we can make it better by knowing where to site farms, how to design farms. But our major problem is how to even design these farms. You'll be surprised to hear that in the year 2020, the biggest pig estate in Nigeria is in Lagos State, between Ogun State and Lagos. It is called Okearo Pig Estate. It was in the year November of 2020 that Federal Ministry of Agri promised them an incinerator. I don't even know whether it was delivered. So, if you have a large estate like that, and you don't have ways to dispose of dead pigs, what are we doing to ourselves? And is one incinerator enough for that entire pig estate? How do we get out of this problem? I highlighted some of the ways that we'll get out. I talked about funding. I talked about all stakeholders getting involved. I talked about laboratories, rapid response laboratories that must work. know, I talked about getting quick information as to how to, outbreaks, where outbreaks are occurring, and how we can take measures to contain those outbreaks, which are lacking in this country. Then the issue of wild pigs. There are wild pigs in Europe, in areas where this disease was eradicated, like Portugal and Spain. They have wild pigs. And it is easy to break that sympathetic cycle. Is to get rid of ornithodorus sticks and continue surveillance. We don't even know whether Ornithodorus mobata is in this country. In 1998, I think, the Spanish government sent people to Nigeria to meet with relevant clinicians that were involved in disease of pigs to find ways to contain African swine fever in this country. And even from that time to now, I remember it took place in Bonn. I met with Professor Abede there, and I told him about the need to go in search of Ornithodorus mobata. I think now we have one species of Ornithodorus in this country, but we have not even gone ahead to see whether it is involved in the transmission of this virus. This is one of the problems we have. And most of the wild pigs that we have, the only contact they have with our domestic pigs here is minimal. So breaking that sympathetic cycle shouldn't be a problem, really. That's what I think. I think I'm attempting to answer everything.
Some online.
Okay, samples. One, fortunately for this disease, is not zoonotic. And veterinarians as well have to package their samples properly that can be sent to the laboratory. But I emphasize the need to decentralize these laboratories so they will not have just one in a country like Nigeria. As far as I know, it's only MVRI 4. So if you have an outbreak in Port Harcourt, you have to transport to Bonn. If you have a Lagos, you have to transport to Bonn. But if you have one, at least in every senatorial district, this senatorial zone, or the geopolitical zone, it will reduce this ease of transportation and diagnosis. I specify that as one of the measures you must take if you want to control the disease.
Yes, we have some members of the audience following the presentation and have questions for you.
Okay.
So Dr. Babashani will assist us read out the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have about 35 participants online. Yes. Dr. Aliu Evuti is online and he wants to say something. Dr. Evuti?
Good afternoon, all. Thank you, Prof, for this wonderful topic and then the presentation. And I think we need, moving forward, we need more and more of this to educate the public and then the livestock farmer. African swine fever is one problem out of the numerous livestock disease that we are facing in Nigeria. Unfortunately, coming from the field, from the state to federal government, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, there has not been any single plan to face any one of these major transboundary animal disease, being it CBPP, FMD, PPR, that is livestock is destroying the livestock industry in the country. There's no any single plan, concrete plan to take care of these diseases. There have not been across the state in Nigeria, there have not been any organized vaccination programs, even for those diseases that have vaccines available for them. All they are doing is on the vaccination. We don't know the population of our livestock. For instance, in any particular state, you want to carry out the so-called mass vaccination that some states are managing to do annually. And even then, even at that, the resources, the funding is reducing by the day. They only give you handout. Go and purchase whatever quantity you want to purchase to satisfy all righteousness because of their campaign. I think as a nation, we need to come up with a formidable plan on how to tackle not all, even because of the resources, not even if not all, at least let's identify 1, 2, or 3 diseases that we can be, as a nation, we will face and see that we will go into research, sensitization, carry the policy makers along, and see that we'll be able to bring them under control. Thank you, Dr. Sanusi, for bringing out that issue of transportation of samples across. That is what is happening. There have not been any funding for surveillance, and even when shipping these samples, recently we had a case of anthrax outbreak in Niger State. Unfortunately, this is a very hazardous disease, but you'll be surprised that we went to Zuba and get go to the garage and send this sample along with the passenger to MVRI. The system is deteriorating as far as the livestock sector is concerned. In terms of diseases control, we are not getting it right. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ebuti. There's a question from Olakunle, I think it's from Lagos. He said, having said that there's no cure for African swine fever, what can smallholder farmers do to protect their investment? And he also has a comment that the incinerator promise was delivered at OKRO, but it is lying down uninstalled. So another question was given, is African swine fever a threat to pig population? If yes, do we have data to present to policymakers and donor organizations on the dangers of the disease? The last one is a comment from Dr. Nambiri. Thank you, Prof, for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much. In November of 2020, Federal Ministry of Agri assembled all major big farmers in Nigeria, paid their transportation, housed them, fed them, and they were told as to how to protect piggeries or pig farms from getting disinfection and other diseases. So far, it is strict biosecurity measures. Biosecurity measures to safeguard these farms, the small pig holders, is very simple. Don't allow a butcher into your farm. Buy everything that you need. Don't borrow broom, brush, rope, weighing machine, anything. Don't borrow anything and don't give out anything that you have. If you are going to employ farm hands, they should not have pigs in their homes. Whatever they wear on your piggery should be left there and be used the next day. You must shower on arrival and shower when you depart. These are some of the things that you will do. But you'll find that even the pig owners themselves, they will put a small food tip in front of the pig, and when they come, they jump over it. You know, but you should make it big and deep so that you cannot avoid it. Some people, when they come, when they see something that big and that deep, they don't want to go in, so they turn away and go back. You know, But you find that even the rules and regulations on the farm is for some people. It's not for others. It's not for the owner of the pig. You know, these are some of the things. So it's really easy. There is abundant data. Anyway, Professor Saki will talk about that. There is abundant data with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. They know what is happening. I think they're doing their best. Let me just put it that way. But we veterinarians, my people have a saying, if your drum is very small and you have to dance and beat the drum, you have to make certain moves so that people can see you if the drum is not reaching them. There are many things we can do, but my experience in this country over my little years of practice is that once a disease is not zoonotic, the attention given to it is very small. Thank you.
With regard to the control, it's like AI. When there's an outbreak on the farm, every animal goes. But who is ready to pay them? That's why they said about CBDP, tests and slaughter. The Fulani people started before, they never got a cook. So there's nothing like test. We are not serious. When FMD outbreak occurred in Britain some years ago, we heard on the BBC, what everywhere, they were just slaughtering them and burying them. People were, how can you waste meat? Africans in Britain were saying the British, they don't have sense. They are wasting meat. Send it down to my country and we enjoy it. I mean, African body can withstand the FMD virus. Thank you.
Yes, just a remark, as the thing is being discussed, I remember when the Minister of Agriculture came here at another university area, he was touring various places. He was here to commission this renovation project, and he was at Napoli. We had to enter the dairy unit, and there was this small mat waited antibiotic for people to match before they entered. I noticed there are men that were just deliberately jumping over it. It was probably out of ignorance that it was meant for them to match it before they enter the dairy. So there are such things that have to be abided by in order to prevent, to curtail the spread of this disease. Like the presenter said, is the role individuals play along the value chain. Their roles are what will either prevent or help in spreading the disease. And he has highlighted them all along the presentation. We continue to entertain questions. Assistant Dean was indicating so that he has one thing what the other to say.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Alam, for that wonderful presentation. Yeah, for some of us, I know my daddy here will say this is not an academic environment. Or we are not talking academics, it's field, maybe experience. From my little involvement in molecular, I was made to understand that, yeah, of course, there is no vaccination against African swine fever. But then the direction now which people move, tend to control this disease is by the use of there are certain proteins, heat shock protein from mycobacterium that they use it as a component, mucosal vaccination now. You set up your mucosal vaccination, you now get your recombinant DNA from most likely perhaps maybe adenovirus, you get some heat shock protein, you you formulate your vaccine. I think that is very much promising. We suggested last time when this issue of Corona-19 came about that yes, okay, fine, give us some ground. Some of us, at least, we have gone out and we have participated in, vaccine development. We have colleagues also that here we can merge with, and again, if possible, bring out vaccine even against Corona. So with this one, although I'm not in swine production, but then the literature and the way forward, we have the procedure, the technique, know-how, at least, in as long as it is a mucosal vaccination of the thing. There's a way we can bring about it so that in the run out, we can be able to get something that can be protected, instead of just, as Prof. Saki said, test and slaughter. So that's just my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. I've commended the presenter, so I don't think I need to do it again. Though before we started the program, he said we should know everything about African swine fever, and I told him that a lot of us are not into teaching of swine medicine, so we've forgotten some things about it. So based on that, I want to ask some little questions. When you started the introduction, you said the plane that left, Professor Saki said it's not real, but my question is in line with that. The people that moved from what country to Portugal, they fed the remnants of their what they ate on the plane to their pigs. So my question now is it that this virus cannot die during the process of cooking? So that is one. Then secondly, you said Portugal said you do not need a vaccine to control this disease. So if you don't need a vaccine to control disease, what then do you need to control the disease? And then somebody also asked you that in Nigeria, what is the way forward? The first thing you said was funding. So if Nigeria decides to fund this, maybe any work to eradicate this disease in Nigeria, what are you going to use the funding for? Since you cannot produce vaccines, or maybe there are no vaccines in existence presently for the eradication of this disease. And then based on your field experience, you have a massive mortality when you have an outbreak of this disease. So my worry now is, like you said, the pig village or whatever in Ogun State, they have just one incinerator. All these smallholders that do not have incinerators, I think maybe they will resort to burning of the pigs or something. So what do you advise them to do when they have a mass mortality like that? So, and then the other thing is, when these pigs are dying, there's no treatment for this disease. When these pigs are dying and you are being called upon, what do? Do you just look at them die like that, or what do you do to at least save the other maybe the pigs that are in that environment? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mine is not a question. I'm providing information as well as a comment. Let me start with the comment. The assistant dean mentioned the possibility of producing a vaccine. Dean, sir, if you read the law establishing the hospital, the precise aim of government in doing so was to create a linkage between industry and faculty. We are at the forefront of links with industry. We brought back the problem. And we expect that at the basic level of research, at the level of faculty and research, what you just said can be done. And then at the level of translation, we can take your findings and get a market for it at the level of industry. It's unfortunate the hospital has gone through all kinds of turbulence. There was this, at a point,
and thought that we were here to actually replace the pattern. So we are not here to do so. So I think I took your comment with every seriousness, and to me, that's the kind of business I would like to see a collaboration between those of us who face the problem and those who, at the level of the academia, can come up with solutions. And that's what leads to the production of patents, and then you commercialize. So let's get that very clear. That's at the level of the information I wanted to provide for Prof. First, let me thank you for inviting me, because I didn't know it was going to happen. And I'm very grateful I came. We do have, and then commend you for this wonderful effort that the director is pushing. But I think we should give him all the support he needs to push this further. We do have Ornithodoros mombata in Nigeria. And I faced this way back in 85-86 when I served in Kudu. Indeed, late Dr. Garba, of the Spanish, was specifically sponsored to go to ILCA at that time by Dr. Madibu, who was DBA. Because the cattle market, as at that time in Kudu, was next to the Central Mosque. So when people come to pray on Friday, the mosque wasn't particularly, and so they have to spread their hearts towards the market. But the place, those of you who know this area, is sandy. And the beauty about this very crazy tea, it hides in the sun. So the cattle, once they are tied, you see them coming out to take blood from their feet. And it can bleed enough. You just see them bleeding as if somebody has just took them all over. And for the worshippers when they come to pray, it's like everybody will wait until the prayer is about to start, quickly lay their heart, and as soon as you see them run, because as soon as you stand there, you come out of the time and start biting. So I think that's another piece of information, since this is critical to the spread of this disease, that cattle carrying $1 from that cattle market will be another mechanism of aiding and abetting. That's the information I wanted to provide this
information. Thank you very much. I think this is one of the problems about this country. We don't publish. I searched for literature on Ornithodoros mombata. Till today, I'm searching. In fact, every day I get mail on African swine fever from people who are working on it all over the world. I don't want to say much. Dr. Dahiro's coming because Professor Dawa has said everything there about that. I know the laboratory in Belgium, there's also working not just on vaccination, but on treatment. I also know that certain people in the world are using antiviral agents, but they have not published anything yet to see if that can help. I'm very careful. I only use what I have seen published. You know, it is here in Africa that we cook our food to the point that we begin to make sure the protein that is even meat product. Most of what is eaten by people outside here, Europe and America, is square. So most of them, you will find that the pathogen causing disease will not die as a result of heat. That's number one. Several years ago, Professor Esewo started a group, a research group, to look at bovine spongiform encephalomyelitis, Malaysia, I think. Now, there was something very interesting about that disease. Europe and America had the problem because they stunned their animals. The causative agent was in the brain, and it will remain in the brain. So because of stunning, the prions will spread to the rest of the body. So when you buy beef, you take it home, you don't cook it properly, you end up with Creutzfeldt-Jakob syndrome, otherwise known as mad cow disease. That wasn't our problem here. We will eat plus the brain, but we'll cook it until the causative agent dies in the pot. You know, the people who enter that airplane will not eat the type of food that we cook in our home and eat. In fact, those who are involved in international travel, I don't think you can name any airline that the food is palatable. You just eat because you don't want to be hungry inside the airplane. The issue we have about funding here is simple. You ask somebody to depopulate his animals, you must be ready to pay for the loss. You are asking him to keep that farm fallow for 2 months. What is he going to do all that time? You must have money to pay him compensation. Government has attempted to pay compensation here for people that had problems with avian influenza. But we all know to what extent that went. Where you have massive mortality, the only thing you can do, like what the Federal Ministry of Agri did, provide incinerators. If you cannot provide the incinerators, be ready to bury those pigs. But you find that most of the time, these farmers are overwhelmed by the mortality. That's why you see this type of behavior that I pointed out here. They begin to throw away these pigs at night when nobody is watching because they simply cannot get rid of it. In fact, African swine fever is the only disease
making the university to have international outlook because of the way we publish our research findings. So let us encourage both the detailed seminars and then the faculty seminars and be there as well to make contributions and gain knowledge as well. I also thank all the clinicians here present. We appreciate your contribution, all the efforts that you can making it is to make it very viable, functional and viable. Students who are here, we thank you all for being here. You have added great clothes, and just as you have gained from the presentation. Those online, we thank you very much. We really appreciate your being present. I didn't think that we would have such a great number, and so it's very encouraging. It's encouraging the online presentation. When someone first suggested this on the WhatsApp platform of the faculty, I didn't think that it would work this way. So we thank you all for joining us in this presentation. With this, we close the. I call on